boys?
Hello, dude.
Yo.
Hello, Night. Silk Song. Stole it from Alex.
That's
Still haven't played more of it.
Hollow Knight, Silk Song.
You played some Hollow Knight Silk Song?
Well,
Hey, you've been
it's
holding
possible,
out on
Ben.
us, Ben?
Haven't played more of the original. Yeah,
Jeez.
I skipped the first one because I got an early copy of Silk Song, so I've been playing that. It's okay.
Gosh.
I don't know. You guys weren't interested, were you?
Oh my gosh.
Now I'll drive
There-
out there and strangle you.
There are actually some people in the world that have played some of Silk Song. They had a playable demo at like E3 2019.
Yeah.
2019.
oh my god.
Yikes. Hey everybody, welcome back to the Forecast, a bi-weekly podcast about everything games, film, and news. I'm Aaron Juno.
I'm Alex McCausland.
I'm Ben Diaz.
I'm Caleb Juno.
I'm McCausland.
And I'm Jake Fetterkyle.
On today's episode, number 196, Netflix is really into live shows now. Very much so. Helldivers and Sony play the TTRPG Fiasco, and Chad watches Nick Cage's The Rock for the first time in his life. Plus, a new secrets-filled Metroidvania lands just in the right time. Ben is preparing for a solo podcast about whiskey reviews, and of course, we've been playing games. If you'd like to know more about what we do, you can follow us on our social channels. You can check out our website at WeTheHorizon.com. We have a ton of original content for you to browse through, including our multi-arc Starfinder adventure, the Discord, and Signal. Additionally, everything we talk about is in our cast notes, which is pushed out to whatever podcasting app you are using. All right.
You gotta sell the Discord and Signal a little more. We're almost at the end.
I don't
We are
remember.
almost at the
Also,
penultimate
I don't
episode.
remember agreeing to a solo whiskey podcast.
You did. I mean,
You were pretty drunk.
Okay, let's talk about selling the Discord and Signal for a second.
Uh-oh.
How much money can we get?
Here
for
we
it?
were after a concert with some random people that we met at the concert, and I'm talking to this gentleman, and I start talking about Discord and Signal.
Oh,
And I
gentlemen.
explained that Aaron's the GM and like how it's recorded and it's broadcast on Mondays, and I'm like, you should ask him about it. So the guy stops the conversation that Aaron's having with the guy's girlfriend, wife, whoever, significant other, and goes, "You run a Discord and Signal podcast?" And Aaron's like, "Yeah."
Really
Excellent.
selling
Granted-
it, Aaron.
Granted,
I'm glad
it was,
I can tell
it was
that
after
Aaron
a concert.
is-
I had a couple drinks. I was kind of like, yeah, of course I run a Starfinder podcast. You don't, idiot.
I can tell that Aaron is the sales guy of the six of us. Clearly,
I hate
I
sales.
set that up. It was like
You did.
on a
It's
it
a
was
slam
on
dunk.
tape.
I have never thought about that conversation since, but now that you bring it back up, you make a very valid point. I really just...
I'm the worst.
Man, I botched it.
I'm the worst, yep.
It's okay. He would have just watched one episode and been like, oh,
In Aaron's
Dave,
defense,
get out of
he
here.
was like in somewhat of a, I would say, panicked mind state because his phone was dead. Janae was picking him up. We were taking longer than we expected. So, there was a little bit more in this conversation.
There's some chaos going on, for sure.
Are you guys
Okay.
ready?
Yeah, we ready for podcast?
So ready.
Ready for the CCCP?
Hit us with that CCCP.
Did anybody do this last week?
Yeah,
Caleb did. Pretty good.
Oh, did Caleb actually take me up?
He
on
did.
it?
He did.
He did.
Yeah, he did.
He did well.
What do you want?
Is that the question?
Sorry,
I
why
want to
Fagro?
thank him for yourselves.
Why Fagro? Okay, so user Nightshade X has sent us in a fantastic question. Really, it's a brain scratcher. You gotta dig into the depths for this one. What is the best gimmick or system in a video game that you've had the pleasure of experiencing?
Best gimmick.
Running
Or
in
system.
Elden Ring.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Best gimmick.
Does the existence of the Picto chat on DS count?
Okay,
Sounds
so
friendly in
I
the
was
game.
laughing earlier before the podcast because I actually typed that into ChatGPT. And I didn't expect it to answer me at all. And it says, one of the best gimmicks or systems I've ever experienced in a video game is the Nemesis system for Middle-earth's Shadow of Mordor and its sequel, Middle-earth
That is a
Shadow
good
of
answer.
Mordor.
That's a
That's a good
good
answer.
That's a really good answer.
Wow.
ChatGPT.
Good
Come
job,
I
on,
don't like
huge.
ChatGPT.
I don't like how it said that I've experienced. but-
Yeah.
You
It's
don't
been
know what
playing games since
ChatGPT
recently.
likes.
Maybe it played,
in
maybe
between
it likes
questions.
Shadow of Mordor,
Maybe.
That's a good one. That's a really good one.
That's a good
That's
one.
that's hard.
Yeah, it's
I-
really
okay.
That I'm
hard.
surprised nobody's ripped off.
I think
Yeah.
I have one. So in Fire Emblem, one of the Fire Emblem games, I don't even remember which one that started in, but they introduced a mechanic where you could, it's a tactics game for anyone who doesn't know Fire Emblem very well, and they added a mechanic where you had a certain number of rewinds, so you could back up a certain number of turns, which was really nice, because in a tactics game like that, you play for 30 minutes going through, and it's like, uh-oh, I moved that guy, and then he got ambushed, and now he's dead, and now I need to play 30 minutes again.
Oh, yeah.
Or I use one of my rewinds, and I just don't fucking put him there, and
That
I can
sounds
just
cool.
keep going. It's really, really nice.
That is nice.
Similar to that, this isn't the one that I have in mind, but Prince of Persia's Two
sure.
Thrones. When you fall
okay.
off of something or something like that, and then you rewind the time. Really nice.
Yeah. It's very similar, actually, I guess. Unless you keep
Yeah.
the flow a little better.
Or you just, get stuck in a situation where you don't have enough sand and you just keep falling into that same pit over
Sure.
and over and over again.
That works too.
Let me talk to you about the best system, which is the class system in Kingdoms of Amalur rewrite.
And I should have known that was coming.
Because they had a system where they had 3 base classes, similar to if you guys have played Fable, where they've got basically the magic class, the might class, and the agility class. But the way their system works is you could pick a card to kind of be your class, and they had hybrid cards that were mixes between the classes. And to the degree that you could pick cards that were 50-50 split mixes and stuff that leaned more magic might but leaned a bit towards magic, or magic might but leaning more towards might. And they had it was very interesting that they could they had all that with the bonuses and stuff you get from the card choices, that you could kind of hybrid them together. Because it's the best game of all time. That's why they had that. Yeah.
Best game of all time.
This one's probably not my favorite, but it's one that I can think of because it came up somewhat recently. In Sea of Stars, there is a system where enemies are charging up to do powerful moves, and they get a thing over their head that has several different symbols. And if you match the symbols with the elements that you're using against the enemy, and you knock off every single piece, it stuns them out of their attack. And I think that's a really fun mechanic.
That's cool.
Actually, I'm a little surprised you didn't go for the powering system in Chained Echoes.
Oh,
Where you got to keep stuff in the green.
yeah, that one's really good too.
I've only played a little bit, but that system's fucking dope. I like that a lot,
yep,
actually.
You're right. Yep.
All right,
Yep.
Caleb's 2 favorite gimmicks are from JRPGs. So
He's the JRPG guy. He loves
He
it.
is.
That's all he
It's
talks
fair.
about.
Well, I was gonna say, I don't know which game did it first is the problem for this one, but being able to mark your map with custom symbols in a Metroidvania,
Oh,
amazing.
Oh
I don't know
my
who did
God.
it first though.
I
what
mean,
about the upgrade
so-
in Prince of Persia,
I was about to say Prince of Persia.
Yeah.
screenshot stuff.
That
Takes it
does
to
improve
11.
it. Yep.
Dang, screenshots to your map. Fucking game changer. Game changer.
Yep.
What about super hot time moves when you move?
Oh yeah,
That's a pretty
Ooh,
cool
That is
yeah.
sick.
that's a good one. Even better in VR.
can that be qualified as a
Yeah.
gimmick if it's just the core
The mechanic?
gameplay
I would
mechanic?
say so.
I
'Cause
absolutely.
It's
I mean-
unique,
I
at
mean,
least.
Chad did say
Gimmick
gimmick
or
or
system.
Yeah, or
Or
Oh,
system.
you did say
system.
gimmick or,
Or
system.
system, I guess, but I think it's kind of gimmicky just because it's it's a shooter, but the gimmick is time only moves when you move. I can say that statement and it sounds
Yeah.
Yeah,
accurate.
for sure.
Are you stumped, Aaron?
Yeah, I am stumped. I'm so stumped.
It's a tough question.
That is
Additionally,
very
a-
difficult.
a boring option that I think has become kind of canonic to the series, but I think it feels boring, but I don't think the series would be the same without it, would be VATS from Fallout games. The whole kind of you can slow down time and you get percentage chances to shoot specific body parts. I think that's
Yeah.
a very cool mechanic.
Was that just a primary mechanic in one of the first couple games?
In
I
Fallout,
feel like that's something they would have just
The
carried over.
first 2 games were isometric RPGs.
yeah, I
That's
don't
what I
think they
mean, yeah.
introduced VATS
I mean,
until
kind of. It was
they were
I wouldn't be
turn-based.
surprised if those had limb targeting
Well, yes.
in their
They
tactics.
did. To be clear, yes, they did.
Okay.
But Fallout 3 was fully 3D, so you could just shoot them, but I think what it is that Bethesda didn't know how the hell to make guns work good. So they were like, just put this in there and it's kind of similar.
That would explain why Fallout 3 is fucking terrible to play if you don't use VATS constantly.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
Really, most of the games
All
other
right.
than 4 are pretty
Well,
terrible.
while
about
Aaron
that.
still sits there simmering,
Just thinking. It's hard.
my official gimmick and/or system that I really enjoy, which is very controversial and polarizing, is Fortnite's building system. I think it takes the element of a shooter and just kind of elevates it above just other shooters.
Haha, I see what you did there.
Wow.
That's a knee slapper.
That's good.
The thing I want to say is it just feels more broad. But you know, like that game, the one who pulled the sword from the stone, or whatever that name of that game is, where everybody's trying to pull the same sword from the stone.
Okay, yeah.
And it's back to back, and whatever you do impacts the person behind you. There was also a game where you went like
Yes,
sort of
it
like
starts with an M.
elving. I cannot. That's the
I
one I'm
cannot
trying to
think
think
of
of.
Oh yeah.
What's it?
It was like an experimental indie
Morai
game.
or something like that.
Maybe Morai.
It is close to that, if not that exactly.
That mechanic, the idea that like you can take a game and whatever you do specifically in the game directly impacts the person that plays subsequently. There was also that there was like an isometric 4-player co-op game that you could only ever play once. Same concept basically, right? Like you get to try it and then whatever you're doing impacts the people behind you. I think that's just a really cool. I love experimental games. I think that's a very unique concept, very unique idea to have something in the game that you do interact with the player that plays after you. I mean, it doesn't have to be specifically your game. It's just a part of that network of games or whatever. But I think that's just really neat. Very strange and jarring when it first hits you.
It is
It's a really cool gimmick.
I am.
It makes me think of Doki Doki actually.
I was about to say I am a little surprised none of you said
Doki
Doki Doki. 'Cause
Actually,
I feel like,
yeah.
didn't
When
they
they
have
say
a
your
gimmick where
name.
like the game like
Meta
shut down
gimmicks
in the
in
middle of
general.
it or like pretended to shut down?
A lot
and
of games do
didn't?
that. Doki Doki, I think, takes it.
I thought
The
Doki Doki was like
furthest
the
I've
first
seen.
one to do it.
No,
No.
definitely not the first.
Christ, Divinity Original Sin does it.
Really?
The game crashes at like the final boss. You get like a black. It's like it goes to like command prompts. It's
Funny.
Man.
I think the other, since that's kind of a broad category, I think the other thing I would probably say is Tunic's use of the rule book or the
yeah.
whatever you call
That's
it,
a
the
great
guide.
one.
That is a good one.
yeah. The
I think that's
manual.
just really cool. The layering that they do in that. It's just a very unique game in general.
All right, let me just add one more now because you made me think a little with that. You know how in some games you can do stuff from the very beginning, but you don't know how, so you don't ever do it, like Celeste corner
Celeste.
jump and stuff like
Holy.
that.
Or
So
Tunic. That's
good.
cool.
all of it.
Also Tunic.
All
All
of
of it.
Tunic.
All of Tunic. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Wild.
I think
Yeah.
one last one. Proximity chat done right.
Proximity chat, sure.
Oh,
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
Prox. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, it's true.
That's good stuff.
Like
When it's-
Lethal Company probably
Lethal
wouldn't be as fun
Company.
if
So
the
good.
proximity chat wasn't
True.
involved.
The
I
Prox
agree.
chat is the whole thing in that game, man.
Yeah. Man. Good question.
Yeah, I like that one.
Thanks,
Real
Nightshade
head
420.
Nightshade X.
Okay.
Night with a
Nightshade.
1,
Please don't
shade with a
insult
4 and a 3,
Alex,
and an
come
X,
on.
you know?
Okay, let's move on to some news-related things, and we should probably talk about the most important one, which is the recent fiasco between... I don't even want to say between Helldivers and Sony. It's the recent fiasco that Sony has caused
Yeah.
in the Helldivers community.
yeah.
Feel free to highlight the whole thing.
Yeah, so sometime last week, I don't remember when exactly, but sometime last week, Helldivers put out an update and basically requiring PSN accounts for new players, and then that would later, I think at the end of the month, would require PSN accounts for existing players as well, which, as you can imagine, didn't go over well. Primarily because there's a lot of countries where you can't do PSN accounts.
Yep.
You just don't have access. It's like 177, I think they said, countries that the game just wouldn't be able to be played in anymore. And all those people who had already been playing it a bunch would be locked out. So there was huge pushback on that.
121 countries do not have access to the PlayStation Network.
Okay, I thought it was 177 for some reason.
The
that's how
number
many
I
I
heard was
I heard that number as
170.
well. Yeah.
So
Okay.
somewhere in there.
Yeah, and the game got delisted from all those countries on Steam, and man, it was bad for Sony. And they kind of walked it back, So there's not going to be any PSN requirement for Helldivers, but it's kind of caused even more backlash just, I think, in the last few days because Ghost of Tsushima came out, and all the multiplayer stuff requires a PSN account, and so it's been kind of review bombed on Steam as well. And I think Sony's going to be eating that decision for a while.
Mm-hmm.
It's going to be a problem for them, I think.
Ghost of Tsushima also had it delisted in like 177 countries.
Yep, also that. Yeah, thank you.
I think the saddest part about all of that is like they review bombed Helldivers 2, but then they also moved over to Helldivers 1 and started review bombing that when that has nothing to do with Sony. So like,
yeah, there was a lot of anger directed at the Helldivers developers, but it wasn't really their choice. It was kind of forced on them by Sony. But you can see where people were like, yeah, developers' fault if they didn't know the full story.
Well, so I think the reason why a lot of people were mad at the developers is because the lead dev actually came out and said that he knew about this, but like made the call early on to not require PSN accounts to where it could like lighten the load of the servers.
Yeah.
Mixed in with like turning off the leaderboards and stuff like that. So like, it'd be able to run smoothly. People could actually play. But in tandem with that, he is not like, they are not in charge of distribution. So like Sony should have talked to somebody like Steam or something and like made it clear like, hey, don't sell to these countries.
Mm-hmm.
Or like, let's figure this out before this becomes a problem.
The fact that the game has been running for months without, the need for a PSN connection, why suddenly add it in there? It's just...
It was like
obviously that's not going to go well.
It's easier for moderation, is what Sony was trying to say.
Yeah,
they just want your
data.
To be fair, they listed that it's a requirement on the store page from the very beginning.
Yeah, they did.
The screen where you can skip it says that it would be required. But they added the skip button.
They did. When this came out, Sony also updated their FAQ because it had previously said that I don't remember what it previously said, but they changed it so that it said some games will require PSN access on PC.
The FAQ was like, do I need a PlayStation account to play PlayStation games on PC? And it said, no, you don't.
Okay, yeah.
And now it says yes.
Yeah.
The community manager at Arrowhead was getting flack originally because they were on Discord talking crap, like it just takes 2 minutes to make an account, whatever. And then it was found out that you can't make a PlayStation account in all those countries.
Mm-hmm. That's so close to just, do you not have phones?
Yeah.
Well, they like immediately.
I can kind of see like where they're coming from if it was just like, yeah, just make an account. Like, what's really the big deal? But if you're just not able to because of legal reasons, like that's different entirely.
Yeah. So what I think is kind of interesting is people in those companies, they can make a PlayStation account and they just have to lie about their address.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The catch is that goes against Sony's terms of service. So Steam was like, no, we're just not going to sell it there because then if things get in trouble, we are the ones who have to pay the refund. So we're just going to delist it.
I think Steam said they're not the ones who delisted it, and it was actually Sony that requested it.
I think that was speculation because
Yeah.
Valve has come out and said that they didn't delist it.
Yeah.
Interesting.
The plot thickens.
The community manager though came back like after all this hit the fan and he found out like how big a deal this actually was and was like agreeing with the everybody saying it was bad that you had to sign up now.
Kind of firing him up a little bit too.
Yeah, got to the point where he was like, keep on review bombing the game. It's giving us more leverage to take to Sony, and has since been relieved of his position.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
So
the community has been like trying to get him reinstated, but I mean, I don't have any control over that. So
yeah,
sure, nothing will happen with that.
I'm sure Sony was pissed.
Yeah.
I think also funny, there have been a lot of submissions for new capes. I don't know if you guys have seen the cape designs that show the review bomb. My favorite one is the guy who made the Prodigal Son, which is just like the review bomb. It shows the reviews on the back, but then it says, the cape's cropped length symbolizes the brevity of galactic conflicts thanks to the efficiency of the Helldivers. I mean, it's excellent. Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Needs to be in the game.
Yeah, I don't know what Sony expected after when this game was released. We keep getting these major orders, and we've seen how fast this community can come together. We've been training for this for months. Therefore, when we were told to review Bomb, like, of course, everybody was there. They're like, oh, this is another major
For
order. Let's do
democracy.
it. Exactly.
Crazy stuff.
Yeah.
They're going to be eating this for a while, and not going to be good.
What did it not? Has it not tapped into their stock prices a little bit? Like that stock has kind of dropped a little.
I don't know, actually. I haven't looked into that.
They are up over the last 5 days, so it's really hard to say. When did I don't know actually when this happened, when they got the dip. Sometime in May. I don't know. They had a big dip on May 6th, Monday, May 6th.
That was around then. May 6th is when we started hearing the news, and then
right back up to within $1 of
Yeah.
where their stock price was before. So, you know,
I mean,
basically back up.
I was joking with Danny, and I was like, "Yeah, screw Sony. I'm still gonna buy PlayStation when they come out with the Pro."
Also, Alex, do you want to give us some updates on some closures and layoffs?
We have
and,
to.
you know, so
Tell us
everybody
the
can
bad
just be
news.
sad again.
We got to keep going down the rabbit hole with all the layoffs and closures. This is probably like the most significant time that we've had in closures,
Yeah.
at least this year. First up, we got Take-Two, who is closing down Roll 7 and Intercept games. Roll 7 being the Ollie games, Ollie World. Roller Drum was a really cool like roller derby shooter that they put out. Lots of cool, unique, smaller stuff.
Not a Hero. I know a lot of
Hero.
us really liked Not a Hero.
Intercept Games is the Kerbal Space Program people, which they currently have Kerbal Space Program 2 in early access on Steam, and I guess it's just never going to be finished.
Yep.
I don't know what they do with that, if they take it off of Steam, if they label it. Like, do they just leave it in early access perpetually forever? I don't know how that works.
I mean, you would hope that would be a refund situation if they just stopped development on it. I would imagine, but I don't know.
I still don't understand how they shut that studio down. Like, I feel like Kerbal Space Program is such a popular game.
So I looked into this. Kerbal Space Program 2 flopped really hard, actually. People really did not like 2. Yeah, the player count for Kerbal Space Program 1 is significantly higher than 2. Because I was curious.
Take-Two has not explicitly said that those companies are closing. They've been really cagey about it. So presumably they're closing, but it came out of other areas.
I see.
And
Jason
they have said they're going to
Schreier
continue to make updates to Kerbal Space Program 2.
Oh, really?
Or Kerbal Space. Yeah.
Okay. Well,
We'll
Jason
see.
Schreier is the one that reported this originally.
Yeah, he does.
He's usually pretty on it.
Yeah, he is.
Today, we got new news from the CEO of Take-Two saying, we didn't say we're closing them down. I don't know what you're talking about.
He's being pretty cagey.
Then we got a statement from Jason Schreier again today, just like 2 hours ago.
Wow.
And he's like, all right, here's your statement about how we didn't say we're closing those down. We're being judicious and we're having 5% layoffs, whatever. And then here's the document that we got that was sent to Roll 7 employees earlier this month.
Uh-oh.
Oh no.
And he just posted it on Twitter. And like at the end of this paragraph, it just says, we are therefore proposing to shut down the Roll 7 studio. So
pretty black and white.
Yeah, that's not great.
I guess the word proposing is in there so they can like play semantics, but
like probably maybe, you know.
I don't know. He says that is basically just there to follow UK labor laws, which require employees to be informed in advance. And it's pretty much just set in stone. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
I suspect they're closing. Sucks, man.
So that happened. We thought that was pretty bad. And then, like a week later or something, Microsoft came out with their closures that they're doing.
These were
This
like back to
one
back.
Is insane, man. Makes no
So-
sense.
Microsoft is closing Arcane Austin and Tango Gameworks and a few other smaller studios. Roundhouse Games.
Kind
And
of terrible because they were like forced in to making a game
Yeah.
that they just had no business making.
Redfall?
Yeah.
Alpha Dog Studios as well.
Force them to make
Yes.
a game they don't want to make.
And they're like,
It's
you
not
close down.
good. Close.
And you shut them down.
And then you got Tango Gameworks. They make their own game. It does incredibly well. Close them
Yeah.
also.
Yeah.
What did
And
they
then-
make?
Hi-Fi
Hi-Fi
Rush.
Rush.
Also, though, they also made The Evil Within 1 and 2,
Yep.
and Ghostwire,
Ghostwire
Tokyo is the
Tokyo.
other one. Yeah.
Yes.
You got it.
What the heck?
Yeah, like all of those, I don't know how well they sold, but like all were critically acclaimed. Hi-Fi Rush was a Game of the Year contender in a lot of
Yeah.
categories.
Yep.
It makes zero sense to me.
So they announced that, and then the next day had one of the higher ups at Microsoft talking about how they need more small games that pull awards so that
Oh,
they
really?
can increase their accolades.
Yes.
What an
as a
idea.
game
So-
publisher.
I think
Weird.
the salt on the wound for Hi-Fi Rush and that studio's closing is that they actually saw the performance of Hi-Fi Rush, saw how well it did, and they're like, oh, we're gonna invest back into this. Like Microsoft actually said that, and then later on they're like, we're just closing it down. It's whatever.
Insane. Makes me sad.
Roundhouse Games at least is being folded into like ZeniMax Online sort of, and they've pretty much
That's
just
basically
worked
all
on
they've
Elder
done,
Scrolls
right?
anyway, so it kind of makes
Mhm.
sense there.
Yeah.
Alpha Dog Studios is the other really small studio. They made Mighty Doom on mobile,
hmm
which I thought was pretty
no.
cool, but I guess it didn't.
I don't think
it
it
didn't pull
did
the
very
whales.
well, right?
I
Yeah.
guess.
It seems like maybe it doesn't matter if it does well or not.
Well,
Frankly.
yeah, at this point it does.
True.
Seems like maybe that's
Tango.
irrelevant.
Arcane Austin is just such a devastating hit.
Yeah, man.
Yeah, that's really, really upsetting.
Not gonna get more prey.
Yeah. I
They're
mean,
one of like the big developers that we talk about like in our group all the time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Being excited about like what they're making.
yeah. I mean, I'm looking on the bright side a little bit. The loss of the Prey IP is not important. You know what I mean? Like,
You're right.
it's not like the name
I'm
Prey
upset, but you're
helped
right.
that game at all. Like, if they made their own studio and they made another immersive sim like Prey, not having the name Prey, I don't think moves the needle at all.
Yeah.
Mhm.
But obviously, like, they all just lost their jobs. Like, with all this, what drives me wild is just like, in a few years, I feel like we're just gonna have a dearth of talent in the industry. Because how many of these people leave games development and just don't come back? Because, like, why on earth would you come back to this industry?
Right.
Where it's like, failure is punished with layoffs, and then success is also punished with layoffs. So it's just like, well, what's the point? I might as well just go do something else where I can like make
Yeah.
money.
At that point,
And not be risky.
Yeah, not get fired
riskily
for
employed.
no
Do you-
fucking reason.
Do you think that most of these, I mean, it always feels like to me most of these layoffs come from big companies whose their entire focus is shareholder profits or something along those lines.
yeah.
Maybe the alternate option is a lot more crowdfunded stuff or a lot more
Right.
early access where people are buying into games early, working with the developers sort of thing. I know that annoys all of us because there are even AAA titles that'll be like, ooh, we're in early access. It's like, what
Yeah.
for? But at the same time, if you can get there, maybe that, I don't know.
Yeah, I was gonna
supports
say
that.
we're probably gonna see that the absolute passionate people who like they love their job, they love what they do, and they're probably gonna try to formulate indie titles or something. But then, yeah, we're gonna probably see a large portion of these people shift industries because they're like, I need to be able to put food on my table. Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to something that's gonna be solid and solidified, and something I can wake up and know that I'm not gonna get for success.
I mean,
Yeah.
it would be so demoralizing to make a Game of the Year contender game and the following year just be shut down
Yeah, right.
for seemingly no reason.
Well, it's not no reason.
Speaking of CB
Yeah.
shareholders,
Yeah, you
For
gotta
not making enough
seemingly
money.
no reason.
You got to make that line up. What if it doesn't go up as much as it did last year?
Up and to the right. Up and to the right.
Yeah. Oh my. It boils my freaking blood, dude. Before we move on, like one thing I think that at least gives me a little bit of hope. We're gonna talk about Animal Well later, which really small game made by a new publisher who's gonna be publishing smaller games. maybe that's the direction we need to start going. Because it seems like the big publishers aren't really working out.
Mhm.
Maybe that's not the way to go anymore. Maybe we don't need...
I mean, if you look at the games that we all have nostalgia over, they're usually passion projects from people who were gamers who wanted something. They wanted that game to be out there.
Hollow Knight,
Like
Celeste.
Yeah.
I mean,
look at like old Blizzard, right? And how passionate they were, and like how successful they were, and now look at them.
Mhm.
It's like that's a perfect example
Yep.
of like night and day of who the developers are.
Mhm.
What I'm hearing is Activision is a disease.
No.
It feels like they're like,
What?
we're gonna make Call of Duty.
I was about to say the 50th Call of Duty title. Like,
I mean,
Yeah,
here's the thing:
right.
people still buy it.
yep,
Yep.
I'm people.
does
Millions
really well.
of people buy it.
Well, it's coming to light that a big part of the reason why they wanted that deal with Activision Blizzard is because it also comes along with King, who is the mobile dev that controls like Candy Crush.
Oh
Yeah.
my gosh! Which I mean,
Mhm.
isn't there like some figure on the internet that like mobile gaming it outpaces all other game types in terms of revenue?
By an
ridiculous.
enormous amount.
It's because of how easy it is at the touch of a button to just spend money. And
Yeah.
True.
And your consumer base is enormous.
Yeah.
What, you guys don't have phones?
Yeah.
Oh, hence why they were trying to Immortal.
Mhm.
Got it.
All
Check us
coming
out.
together.
So yeah, that's actually like a significant portion of the revenue that they would gain from that acquisition. Is just
maybe with
mobile
that
game
revenue,
stuff.
they'll make better Call of Duties, right?
Try something new, maybe.
Yeah.
We'll see.
Yeah, probably. Probably. They'll bring back single player campaigns. It'll be great.
Man.
Man, there are some good shooter games out there too, which is the really sad part. Like Titanfall 2, phenomenal. Spec Ops
Yeah,
where's-
9.
where's
I mean,
Titanfall
Yeah,
3?
we'll get it.
Oh,
We'll
wait,
get a
Apex
Titanfall
Legends.
game again.
Yeah, I know, right?
Absolutely.
Apex Legends.
Ugh.
Did
Man.
we talk about Ubisoft yet?
No.
Aaron, please. We can only take so much.
Let's just keep going. Let's just keep.
Yeah,
Ubisoft.
so they
Deep
canceled
cuts, Alex.
Hyperscape. Oh wait, sorry, wrong year.
Wow.
Yeah,
I kinda, So I wanted to
Real
highlight this
salty.
because this Ubisoft has canceled the Division Heartland. I wanted to highlight this because it's like maybe they're getting ahead of it because this was going to be their Division like live service free to play survival shooter thing that was going to compete in like the DayZ / Tarkov area of gaming, I guess.
Oh.
Mm.
It was going to be like an extraction shooter.
I think it was going to be a little bit of that, a little bit of like survival gameplay, like eating and drinking, that kind of thing. And it was just free to play and multiplayer. And they were going to try to pump money out of people.
Yeah.
And that,
Nah.
I mean,
and
isn't that
In this
like
economy?
obviously it doesn't have survival mechanics, but like I thought that's
It's
what the
kind of already
Division
a live
was.
service.
Right, Division.
title,
The
right?
Division is / was a live service. I don't know if anyone still plays the Division.
I
too,
guess,
but
yeah.
I mean, it was right.
Yeah, it's similar to Destiny, I suppose,
Mhm.
in that sense.
Was it,
Well, they were trying to double dip, I guess.
Well, this one was going to be free to play,
Mm,
That is the difference. That is a big difference.
yeah.
so probably heavy microtransactions.
Yeah, I'm sure.
Because
Battle
like the
Pass,
Division is live service, but
seasons.
it's like you buy the Division and then you can buy. They put out one expansion for it that you could buy.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know what else you're buying in that game.
I think there's cosmetics that you can actually buy.
Maybe.
I don't know the validity of this. Supposedly, there were people who've actually tried Heartlands, and
Oh.
they were under NDA.
I feel like they've got it out there in tests and stuff.
Yeah.
I
I
signed
think
up for a
NDA
few
is
of them.
up because they said they canceled this. And the consensus of the people who have tried this is they don't know what this game was trying to be.
Mm.
It does sound like they're trying to throw all the buzzwords at the wall. And
I
make
wouldn't even
something
be
that-
surprised.
It's a
They open
battle royale. It's an
ChatGPT.
Traction shooter. It's
Yeah,
somehow a
right.
city builder, crafting, survival, Metroidvania. It's all of them, guys. It's everything you would want. Oh wait,
It's the
what was
way
name?
Aaron describes every game.
It's correct. Correct.
It's almost like making a game for what the market thinks is good is not really
Doesn't
the
it?
best way to make a game.
Caleb, that's crazy. That doesn't
That's
make any
insane,
sense.
I think more
Read
people need to
remember-
look at
That
Helldivers
reminds
as
me
an
of. Do you
example.
remember at PAX there was that game that like we saw a video of it and it just had everything in it. It was like
Yeah.
kind of Asian
Yes.
looking.
Yeah.
What was that?
Was it called like
It had,
Ancient
like,
Era
every
or something?
Yeah,
I've
it's
literally-
some
I've got
Asia
my-
era.
It was bonkers. It was like, oh, okay, it's just like it's a little farming game. Oh, now he's building a city. Oh, now they're going to war. Now he's in a courtroom. What's happening? Like now they're in jail. Now there's a breakout of a jailbreak. Like it just kept going through mechanic.
Yeah.
It's just like, what is happening?
I forget what that's called, man.
So
I've
this
got
article.
all my PAX like business cards in front of me. I'm looking through them right
Nice.
now.
Oh yeah. This article talks about like seeing Redfall fail and then like the cancellation of the Last of Us online multiplayer thing that they were trying to do.
Oh, yeah.
And Blizzard apparently had like an untitled fantasy survival game that they canceled that was in development. It just seems like all these AAA projects that are kind of in the same vein are getting shut down. And also they talk about how it's kind of weird that they're shutting it down considering that they're so committed to most other things like Skull and Bones, which spent forever in development hell and they never canceled it. And then they just slapped it out there as the first quadruple A game.
I do. Sorry, go ahead.
I think Remedy also canceled their upcoming
did.
multiplayer game. Yeah.
Yeah.
Skull and
This
Bones right now 3.4 user score on Metacritic.
How is it that high?
that's out of 10.
That's out of 10.
Yeah, I was
how is
thinking
that
wow, that's really good.
Oh man.
We played that game and I gave it probably like a 0.5. Like that. Like
Ah man. Yeah.
it's a co-op game. What do you mean? Aaron's halfway across the map completing stuff while I'm over here like editing my character. My quest is already done for me. Like this is not co-op.
No.
Oh my
No,
god.
no.
So they announced. Oh, you go ahead.
I was just gonna say, speaking of people shutting down live services, it's kind of funny because EA didn't get the memo. One of their executives came out and was talking about the next Battlefield game,
Oh,
and
yeah.
how it was going to be another wonderful live service, and how excited he was to use AI in their future projects. And it was like,
Oh,
man,
wow.
you really don't keep up with the news like at all, huh?
That
Really,
is-
just not
Oh.
not reading the room even a little bit. Because all of
Man.
those buzzwords you just used are going to get you a lot of bad press,
Those
actually.
are the bad buzzwords.
Yes. Nobody
How
likes that.
good
You missed that
if-
much. That's so
If you're
bad.
a room of investors, it's really good
Yeah,
to say
yeah.
all
it
those
is.
things.
I mean, I'm sure that's where this came from.
Yep.
Yeah. And
It's
then
said
it gets
to
out to the
investors.
public and it's like,
Yep.
oh.
Ooh. We don't like
Yeah.
that.
They'll love to. The investors will love to hear they use an AI and not.
Mm-hmm.
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
they'll lay
for
off
sure.
half their staff.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
I feel like this info bite kind of fits here. I said just a second ago that more companies need to look at Helldivers as like just a great idea. It's like different. It's something that like it's what you want for co-op, right? Supposedly, if you do a little research on this, a Halo dev once pitched the same idea for the ODST titles, and Bungie was like, "Nah." Or 3 for 3, whichever one was like, nah, get it out of here.
At the time.
And so, like, wouldn't you just feel so bad being whoever was the one that shot that down and looking at Helldivers right now and how successful it is?
No, because I think when you're that pompous, you always think like it wouldn't have worked then.
Yeah.
That's why
Sure.
that's why I had the
Yeah.
forethought to be able to say no.
Man, I feel like it would have worked. Halo with the
Don't point this at
Helldivers stuff,
Bungie, though.
man.
Bungie, they did good with Halo. Maybe not Destiny, but good with Halo.
343 kind of lost the thread, but
yeah.
So along with this Division cancellation, they also announced the new Assassin's Creed Shadows.
mhm.
Oh boy.
Is
And
that
put up
the-
pre-orders for that.
Where's that? Is that the China?
Japan one.
Japan. It's
Japan,
Japan.
finally.
That's
Yeah.
exciting.
Finally
Man.
Japan, which is cool.
Excuse you, this is the second time they've been in Japan.
I don't
Really?
think so. Is
For-
it?
For
Which
the
one was in
mainline
Japan?
game?
Counting the I wasn't
Okay.
just saying mainline games. They've been in Japan in an offshoot game.
Yeah. I forget what that was
Is-
called.
It was like
Man.
a side scroller or something.
Is it, what type of Assassin's Creed is it gonna be? Is it gonna be like Assassin's Creed 2 or like Assassin's Creed Origins?
Don't know. We have no gameplay. We have a
Because one
cinematic
could
trailer.
be cool, and one I will not buy.
Cinematic.
I mean, I won't buy either, probably. But
There are two main characters.
That's the problem, huh?
yeah.
There's two main characters. One of them's like a big burly samurai dude, and one of them's like a
Ninja
lithe ninja
yeah.
girl.
Oh, wait, that's so creative. What a
Mhm.
man! Really racks their brain for that one.
Oh no.
Oh my god.
Importantly, we got pre-orders out, so $70 for the base version, $110
Wait, they haven't
for
shown any
gold version.
gameplay yet, but pre-orders are out.
No, Ben, you don't need to see a gameplay.
They'll
They're
always
not.
take your money, my
Pre-orders
guy.
are like the big studios early access, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Because with them, you don't
they
actually
wait until
get any early access,
gameplay is shown.
but they still want you to pay.
Well, if you pay $110, you can get 3 days early access here.
Ooh.
So
Wow.
Who buys that?
And
I
$15
don't
a
get
day.
it, dude.
the
Most
Ultimate
AAA
Edition is $130.
Heck
Oh my
yeah.
Oh my god.
Heck
or
yeah.
you sign up for Ubisoft Plus for $18 a month. You can get the Ultimate
Yeah.
Edition.
Of
Oh.
course.
Frickin' Ubisoft, man. They did the same thing for that
They have
Star
a
Wars
subscription
Outlaws.
service now.
Yeah,
Oh
they
my
do.
gosh.
Yep.
This is the Star Wars Outlaws model right here. This is
Uh-huh.
their
It's
AAA
just a-
model going forward.
Future of big devs and their games as a
Great.
service industry. No. All right, let's move on from new stuff. Talk about film before we get back into good games that we were excited about. First and
Yay.
foremost, Chad, did you watch, I assume, John Mulaney's Everybody's in LA?
I have been turning it on, like, you know how like we're in the generation of just like iPad kids who they need to like be watching something when they eat.
Yes.
Well, obviously that's me.
Yeah.
So I just turn it on while I'm eating something, and when I tell you the amount of chaos and just what is this show that is just falling across to me while I am viewing this. And John Mulaney is also experiencing that same thing of what is this show? Why am I here? Kind of
Real time,
situations in real time. Yeah. Because this was live and they streamed it over from like May 5th to like 9th or something like that. Over the weekend, they paused for a second and then came back. So they started on a Friday, I think ended on a Thursday or Friday. It is bizarre that it's just like the first episode, he comes out on stage, talks about everybody's in LA. LA confuses him. He starts off with like just showing a map of LA and describing all the locations in it. And then he said, all right, the topic of our show tonight is coyotes. There's going to be a number at the bottom and you can call in and tell us stories about coyotes. And then he introduces his guests and they come in and one of them is Seinfeld. That's not his actual name.
Jerry
but-
Seinfeld.
Yeah. Jerry
That is his
Seinfeld.
actual name.
Oh,
It is
yeah.
his name.
Really?
It
Okay.
is.
Yeah. Yeah.
But then they also had a wildlife person who just like knows about coyotes, and so they're just talking about coyotes, and they get calls in, and it's such a bizarre show. I don't know why it was produced. I don't know what it's about. Like it's just so bizarre. It's like a podcast, like the entire time. And then they have guest stars that sit in the audience, and so for the first episode, it was Will Ferrell, but they called him like Lou something. So they're like cosplaying as somebody it's Will Ferrell cosplaying as somebody who like goes to events or something. It's so bizarre.
Weird.
But
Interesting?
I find it kind of funny at times, and also, yeah, I mean, for eating my food and just watching something that I can stop at any time, yeah, it's
Sure.
interesting.
the groups of like celebrities they have are so weird.
It's
This
weird.
one has David Letterman, Bill Hader, Cedric the Entertainer, and Pete Davidson.
That is a strange combination.
What a combo.
They have a segment where they have a robot. I forget what the robot's called, but it's like one of those little cart things that comes up to you. You open it, and then you grab out snacks or a drink, and then it goes along. And I guess those just drive around LA. Which Caitlin pointed out that Mason was like the leading developers, like George Mason University. Like we were testing those. Like we were the first in the nation to start testing those. So it's cool.
Mhm.
Interesting.
Yep, John Mulaney.
Netflix is doing multiple of these like live shows. They did the roast of Tom Brady. They did one in DC with Kevin Hart. I don't remember what it was called, but it was like a whole bunch of comedians went on stage and it was like a live show thing. I don't know if this is them like Hey, we need to get back into like, remember when like TV was live and you like turn it on and there's just stuff playing instead of having to select a series?
We are getting bamboozled, okay?
Yeah,
We went from cable
Yep.
to streaming service because we just got to select anything. And then now the streaming services are so plethora that you have to pay for like 9 different subscriptions. So they start packaging it together.
Yep.
I don't know if you guys have heard of the Disney, Hulu. There's one other that's getting packaged
ESPN.
together.
Yes, yeah.
That's cable.
Yep.
Things that are not live shows that you guys should watch. Blood of Zeus. If you've not seen this show, I watched all of season 2 in one night.
Whoa.
The show is freaking
How many
excellent.
episodes?
There's only 8. They're only like 25 minutes.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah, they're shortish.
That's a little less.
If you've not seen this show, it's made by the people who made Castlevania.
Is 25 minutes kind of shortish? Is that just a normal TV show length?
I don't know.
Yeah, but
At
when you have
today's
like
standards?
premium cable shows that go a full hour now,
I was like, are we getting
Yeah.
too used to the hour-long episodes?
I think so. Yeah.
Honestly, I like it because they don't have to just go insert filler. It is
Right.
just
Sure.
pure story, which I like. But the show is very well written. It is excellently produced. I think some of the animations that they use they look right on par with what Castlevania did in the first, I guess the 4 seasons of that show. Season 2 ends on a cliffhanger, which I don't really like. Chad and I were talking about this the other day about cliffhanger shows, and I'm annoyed. I want a succinct story completed within a season. Sure, we can continue something, but like a major cliffhanger, I'm not a big fan of that. But I will say this show is incredibly well done. And if you like Castlevania and you're like, oh, I want to know what this show's kind of like, you can go watch Castlevania Nocturne because its storyline is almost identical to what happens in the first season of Blood of Zeus. It is weird. But anyway, I just a plug for it. I think this is a great show. It has 100% on Rotten Tomatoes for season 2 right now.
Didn't
People
you
have been
not like
raving about
Nocturne?
season 2.
I didn't like Nocturne because I had seen Blood of Zeus
Okay.
prior, and then I went
That's
and watched
reason why.
Nocturne, and I'm like, this is the same freaking story as Blood of Zeus, or at least somewhat close, and it's not as good as regular Castlevania.
Yeah, who ripped off who?
I don't know, because it's the same studio. Good question.
Ripped
Blood of
the
Zeus
same
came
off.
first.
Hey, nobody will notice this. Let's just tell the same story.
It's still
again.
considered plagiarism, as my teachers in college told me.
Oh,
You had to
man.
submit the
If
same
you
paper again.
plagiarize yourself?
Yeah.
Yep.
There's just, I don't know. It's
If you had a different class that had a report that fit the same thing, you couldn't resubmit it.
Which is crazy.
It's stupid. I already did
It's
it.
pretty dumb.
Here it is.
if you. This is also is like I'm sure you know this by the name Blood of Zeus, but it's Greek mythology, so it's all about. I know,
What?
crazy stuff. But I like the way they infuse. I like watching the show because I really like stories about Greek mythology, but also the infusion of animation. Actually, the style that the studio that did Castlevania does is just excellently produced. So, last but not least, in film, we did have. Is this a announcements for a series or?
Mostly, yeah. I mean, I saw news about it, figured that would be interesting. Mostly that they've announced that they're working on and going to be releasing a new Tomb Raider TV series, live action one. It's being released by Amazon. We don't really have a whole lot of details, other than. No, we really just don't have any details. The fact that they are working on a Tomb Raider TV series that is live action.
Is there a reason we need to revisit this show that's been live action?
We tried it multiple
twice now?
times. Yeah.
Well, they're trying it again.
Have we
We did
had
it once
Tomb
with-
Raider TV?
I know it
Or
is
has it just been
related to the
movies?
fact
I
that
think it's just been
apparently-
movies.
It's related to the fact that apparently Amazon Games is going to be publishing the next Tomb Raider game. So
Yeah.
Of
I
course.
think that as part of that deal, they also are releasing a show.
They almost have to spend money, or else like it would just accumulate too much. So you know,
You wouldn't want to have too
Stacks
much
of
money,
cash
crazy.
are just too tall.
Mhm.
Bezos
Bands keep
like,
breaking.
listen, burn that stack, make Tomb Raider with that stack.
Well, I guess they're not feeding off of the success from the previous Tomb Raider things, but maybe they're feeding off the success of their Fallout series. because that's obviously been incredibly successful for them. Not only the show, but also getting people to actually go back and play Fallout.
That was banned.
Yeah.
I mean, the issue, though, is that you talked to Bethesda, and when's the next Fall game come out? And they're like, well, 15, 20 years.
Yeah.
Just after we finish the Elder Scrolls 6, it's like, okay, all right.
How long you
Or
working on that,
pump the
Bethesda?
brakes.
Only like 15, 20 years?
They need to remaster Skyrim like 5 more times.
Yeah,
truly.
As long as they keep with the same engine, that's what's important.
Yeah, that is
Never
what's
update that
important.
thing.
True,
Not
true.
necessary at all.
Yeah,
Why?
where's the Starfield TV show? That's what everyone's yelling about.
No, but so related to Fallout, have you guys? Did we talk about the big Fallout 4 update last cast that was going to break Fallout London?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we for if you don't remember briefly, basically there's a huge mod for Fallout that's going to be released called Fallout London that basically takes the Fallout game and bases it in London. Whole new storyline, basically a whole new game. Fallout 4 announced they were going to release a huge game-changing update like the day after London was set to release, and London was like, well, their giant update's going to break our entire game, so I guess we're delaying our mod release because that'd be a waste of time. So they released this big update, and it's kind of not great. They promised a whole lot of features in the update that didn't come through. Like they promised widescreen support, and it just doesn't have that. It's got like you can now change your FPS on like Xbox system, but only kind of, because if you try to change it to some of the options, it gives a big pop-up and goes, "Hey, you really shouldn't set it to this level," even though we do say that you can. Like there's a lot of like awkwardness with it. And the latest thing I heard about was basically a couple days ago, they announced, oh yeah, we're going to release another giant update that will break all the mods again. That's going to be happening in like a month. And a lot of people are kind of like, listen, Fallout, modders already fixed all the problems. You don't need to try to fix them.
Yeah,
They've been fixed by unpaid interns.
You guys
Please
are bad
stop
at
breaking your
this.
game. Like, please stop, quote, fixing your game more.
Have you seen any footage of the widescreen support?
Oh no, I haven't actually seen footage of it.
It's really funny. So when you get into like Power Armor and Fallout 4, you get like a special filter over it that shows like your status, and it has like a filter, and it just stops where the normal screen is. And so you have just like bars on either side of non-filtered interface. It's hilarious. It's really incompetent.
I mean, it just
Like,
sounds like a mod.
It does. It sounds like a bad mod though.
Yeah, bad mod.
Like
From
Oh
everything
my
I've
God.
read online and from people I've heard talking about it, most players seem to be of the opinion, listen, we had most of these problems solved with mods. You've just broken all of the mods. Because the update broke, I forget the name of it, but if any of you have ever modded Skyrim, you know that there's a piece called SKSE, which is like a mod loader for Skyrim. It's like the one thing every mod setup needs, all of them. And the Fallout version of that is what this update breaks. So it broke
fun.
almost every mod. And like I think they're getting it fixed, but then they announced they're gonna do another update and they're like, oh great, we're gonna have to fix it again.
Yeah.
Just leave it.
That's kind of a lot of the people I've seen are just like, just leave it alone, guys. It's fine. We fixed it already for you. Please don't try to fix it anymore.
Man. They'll figure it out someday, I'm sure. I'm certain of it. I'm certain they'll be like,
maybe the next Fallout, you know?
Yeah.
This will
Next
be
Fallout.
the one.
15 to 20 years.
Bethesda, listen, I think next game, no bugs. They're getting there.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah.
Yikes.
There were barely any in their last game.
The good news for us is we don't have to wait 15 to 20 years to play good games. Who's to say that the next Bethesda game is even going to be a good game? So, we'll just play things now that are good, that are quality, which is why we play a lot of games. And you know what that means? It's time for, guys.
Whipple.
Whoopipple.
But before we go into WHYBPL, is it bad that I was sitting here trying to think of what was the last game that
Going to Whipple? We're
We already
in
did it.
We're already in Whoopipple.
it's just too
late.
quick. I was just gonna say, is it bad I was trying to think of what the last game Bethesda released was and I completely forgot Starfield existed?
Oh, yeah.
Oh, that's not bad.
That's what we were
Yeah.
all just
Wishful
making
thinking.
jokes about.
Hey, that's Yeah, that's
I
on
was like,
point.
what was it? Fallout 4
Yeah.
last? I
Do we
can't
need to-
remember. Oh,
All right,
yeah,
Ben.
yeah.
You ready? We're gonna try this
All right.
again. Hey Ben, what's
Yeah?
the time for, Ben?
Is it? Whoopin'Pull!
Whoopin'Pull!
Whoopin'Pull.
Apologies.
All right, so before we get into Whoopin'Pull,
Okay, let's talk about a couple games we've been playing. Groups of us have been playing. First and foremost, a brand new game that came out, Animal Well. We have had, I think, at least 4 of us play this game so far. Probably Caleb and myself have played the most. But Caleb, you've 100%ed this game, correct?
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Tell us about Animal Well.
Was it short?
I mean, it's not a
15
terribly
hours.
long game. Yeah. Yeah. I put 15 hours in it to
20 for
100%.
Alex.
So Animal Well is the first game that's published by Big Mode, which is Donkey's publisher, new indie game publisher. Developed by one guy, all of it, Billy Basso. It is a Metroidvania with effectively no combat. It's just very much an exploration and puzzle solving game. And man, it has some really unique ideas on kind of the normal Metroidvania upgrades. In this case, they're all tools, and they're all pretty unique and offer a lot of game-changing concepts, both in traversal and in puzzle solving. And it's it's really good. Very much in the tone of Tunic. If you like Tunic, I think you'll definitely like Animal Well.
Yeah. I think you hit the nail on the head about the their focus being primarily like the tools and the way it changes the game. We talk a lot about when you get upgrades in a game, it changes the way you can interact with enemies, or maybe like your mobility speed. This is, completely changes the way that you interact, not only with traversing the map itself, but traversing even independent regions.
Mm-hmm.
It completely changes the way you can sort of focus on navigating from one room or one area to another, and it is brilliantly done, actually, in a weird way. I think also one of the other cool parts about that is that the whole map appears to be synced. Unlike when you like step from one room or one space into another space, and there may be things that are like, it just resets the room so that you can interact with that reset room at that time. No, it's when you go from one room to another room, it is synchronized across the board. So something you were doing in the left room may change what's going on in the right room, and it is a 1-to-1. You step across the screen and you're immediately there, and it is immediately synced up with what you were doing before. There is no resetting of the room. It is you're navigating the room at that time. Based
I'm pretty
on
sure
the
it goes
mechanics of what you did before.
beyond just rooms next to each other. I think the entire map is
just
constantly.
Yep.
Fully in sync.
Yeah,
Yeah, there's a puzzle late in the game that requires that
that's crazy.
to happen.
Because
And-
like the fast travel system is what tipped me off
Mhm.
to that. I think it's just Billy Basso wrote his own engine to make this game. First of all,
Yeah.
I think it's
That's
just like
incredible.
hyper efficient. The
Which
entire
explains
game
why
is
the
under
game-
30 megs.
Yeah.
That's also incredible.
It doesn't.
Yeah.
It makes sense is when you get the loading times. You boot this game, it's like, here's the screen, click the continue button, you're just immediately playing.
Yeah.
Just immediately playing.
literally,
Can
I was
he
stuck on a
develop-
part. Sorry, go ahead.
Can he develop Call of Duties? And then please, I don't want 200 gigs on my computer anymore.
Mhm.
The load is so fast. There was a part I was stuck on, and whenever I died, it was faster to exit to main menu and click continue game than
Yeah.
wait for it to respawn me.
I've done
Hilarious.
that in a few
I
spots.
was just like, whatever, I'm just gonna quit and restart, and it'll be it's literally faster. It's
That's
crazy.
insane.
That is crazy.
Something we didn't mention about this game, which we should have, the art style is crazy unique. It is almost
really cool.
surrealist pixel art. And
Going for
it's
like a-
awesome.
like scanlines are on by default. It's going for like a CRT look.
Mhm.
Yeah. How have you handled it, Alex? Because it sometimes gets a little harrowing.
You mean it's scary?
Spoopy?
I mean, sometimes.
Man, it's not scary. What are you
There's
What are you
one,
talking
there's
about?
one
Isn't
bit
it just
that's
a
definitely
side-scrolling
spoopy.
pixel art game?
Okay,
Mhm.
can we say that we're going to talk a few spoilers? I think I'm probably the earliest in the game, so I can probably say anything and you guys would be fine.
I am fine.
You do have the
Spoiler
least amount
talk
of time
from here
for
on
it.
out.
No,
I'm not
Jake
gonna
has
play
the
it.
least amount of time played, actually.
Wow.
I'm almost.
I-
I mean, I
okay.
might play it if it becomes a game of the year.
Here's what I will
option,
say.
But
It
Literally,
will become a game of the year option.
well, then I might play it.
It will
before
be.
I logged on, I rolled credits. Or before I
Okay.
came on here, I rolled
Okay.
credits.
Okay.
So
Yeah, so I'm probably far from that still.
All right, I'll
But-
just disappear during the spoiler talk. Then.
We'll tell you when to come back.
All right. I'll stay video. I'm just gonna go into a different
Yeah.
voice
Yeah,
chat,
yeah,
so I'll
yeah.
just
Well, you can
watch
just-
you guys talking.
You can definitely mute.
Oh, okay. I'll just do that then.
Yeah. So I got the ghost that pops up when you take the disc, if that's what you're talking about for the
that
spooky
is what I'm
part.
talking about.
Okay, that
not
was
the
a
only
little
spooky part.
stressful.
Oh, that is not even the
But-
spooky part I thought you were talking
No?
about.
Yeah. that's
I
what
mean,
was
there's other parts that are a little similar, but that part is harrowing.
It is.
That part's
yeah.
really cool because at first I was just taking the disc and just trying to speed run the section because I'm like, obviously there has to be something that turns off the ghost eventually. No, you have to go through the section
I mean,
first
there is, but
and then get the fake disc. But I wanted to talk about, you guys remember the ostrich and the wheel and that whole
Yes.
section? And then
Yeah,
you use
yeah.
the ostrich to hit the 4 switches and enter
Oh,
to get
yeah.
the flame. That section, I got to the beginning of it where that door is locked. I saw the 4 switches and I was like, well, obviously the solution is you put the slinky on one side and you drop the yo-yo on the other side and you time it. You press the button and jump with the slinky and then you hit all 4 buttons at the same time. And I did that. And then I walked in and got the flame and I was like, cool. And I'm going to progress now. And I went on and I did a whole bunch of puzzles and a whole contraption to get this freaking ostrich on this wheel out. And he follows me all the way over and I drop him down and then I go, oh, that's how you're supposed to hit those switches. I just did all that for nothing.
the game, man, it does let you solve puzzles in a variety of ways.
Yeah, it definitely does not care if you do it the right way or if you just manage
Nope.
to do it the hard way.
It gives
They-
you tools to break all of them.
Mhm.
They did a good job, though, of limiting situations where you are actually stuck by the mechanics of the game if you do not have the tools prepped to be able to do something.
Yeah.
Because there's one specific spot I can remember where, you know, the little levers to swap floors. And there's one that you have to be able to go from floor to floor to floor to floor without being able to touch the lever yourself.
Mhm.
You cannot jump up in there, timing when the lever would be hit and cause it to create a floor and you to stand there without having the tools to be able to do that. So they have put limitations in order to prevent you from being able to do things like that, which is good. Still let you break things, but not to the extent where you have to close out and reload.
So the one I can think of is Caleb kind of told me I did a thing I wasn't supposed to. There's that big long vertical shaft in the center of the map. I decided I was going to use the bubble to climb the entire thing. So I just bubbled myself up the entire shaft. Got to the very top, which on the
Maniac.
map is at the bottom of the map for some reason. And then there's like nothing you can do up there. And I was confused. And there's like a little bird there that just prevents you from going past him. He blocks you the whole
Interesting.
time. And Caleb's like, oh, that's why the bird's there. And I still
I
don't
always
know
wondered why the bird
what
was there.
he means by this because I don't have anything that would tell me otherwise. But I'm like, I'm glad I could inform you of why the bird's there because somebody like me is going to go all the way up there with the bubble.
Wait. How did you bubble all the way to the top?
Okay. Well, that's the second time I've ruined that, I guess.
Yeah, he spoiled this for me earlier. So let's not say anything.
You know,
Yeah,
Or do
okay.
you want to spoil it for him? We can spoil it for him.
It's
It's up to you, Aaron.
How far are you, Aaron, using vague terms?
I mean, I have like 10 eggs left.
Okay.
I have, as far as I can tell, done most things.
I will say, the thing Alex spoiled for me is a game changer. Really, really nice. Makes it
Yep.
a lot more pleasant to play, in my opinion.
Do
Is
you
it just
have, Aaron, do you have the BB tool?
the BB tool?
Yeah, the BB tool.
I don't even know what that's supposed to mean.
Yeah,
It's
I don't
one
wanna
that I
spoil
don't
it.
have, I don't think.
Yeah, okay.
I think I am shy 2 tools.
Oh, okay.
One of which I don't know how to get, but it's some sort of wheel that navigates stuff for the ostrich area. That's one of the tools I do not have.
That one's a pain to get, actually. I had to look up a piece to get that one.
You're that far in the game and still don't have all the tools?
I am missing 2 tools.
What the heck? You rolled
I don't know,
credits?
man. I have not rolled credits.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
rolled
you
credits.
haven't?
I have not rolled credits.
So
I
I'm
have-
further than Aaron.
So
confirmed.
Jake's
Yeah.
further than okay.
I
Kind of.
have spent just a
Not
lot
really.
of time. I think I run into situations like you where I'm like, no, but I can do that.
Yeah,
You know
I
what I
do
mean?
that a lot in this game. A lot,
Yeah.
way more than I should.
I think it's probably an interesting case study as to how people interact with games, because I guarantee you I run a game completely differently than all four of you do.
Mm.
My approach is just different, and so like when I plan things, I'm not like I don't think as logically. Probably most of the time I'm just trying to
Mhm.
brute force puzzles when I know I shouldn't, but it's just the way that it works for me. I don't know.
I'm gonna be very vague on this because I don't want to spoil anything. But the game, a lot like Tunic, the game has multiple kind of layers. There's like credits, and then there's a big puzzly piece that's also, I mean, figure outable. And then there's a level beyond that where things are, you gotta look them up basically. There's even a piece that you cannot do solo. It is impossible to do solo.
Mhm.
And
Interesting.
there's a point at the very end, if you follow all the stuff online that people have figured out, you get to a point where there's like a message from the dev, and he's like, well, I never expected anybody to find this. You know, they found it like day 3, of course, obviously. It amazes me that devs still think people can't figure this stuff out with as many people play it. It's crazy.
Yeah, man.
So
game.
okay, I risk being a little controversial here. I feel like I'm not the same experience as some people are. Like, it's fine. I got all the way to the end, and it's good. But like the comparisons to Tunic, I feel like maybe it's just like I haven't done that part yet. Because a lot of the puzzles have felt very just like standard video game puzzle. Oh, I gotta drop, if I drop this thing here, and then I come over here while that's doing that, and I'll do this other thing. And they're all good, they're all fine. It's not like, oh, these puzzles are bad. But I feel like the praise this game has been getting has not matched my experience.
Interesting.
Yeah, I don't know if that's just like, maybe it's just a me problem, maybe I expected too much, I don't know.
For what it's worth, I don't think it's as good as Tunic. I like
Sure.
Tunic more.
Sure, but like that style of puzzle in Tunic, where it's like, oh my gosh, this thing was here the whole time and I completely missed it, and it completely changes the way that I view the world. This has been more like, oh, a slinky, so I can push buttons slightly further away. Oh, a yo-yo, so I can push buttons slightly further away.
Yeah.
I think it's more like the lack of tutorial on any of the stuff, and then how you just like figure out
Discover it.
like, oh, and the yo-yo, if I press the button, yeah, it goes out, but if I hold it, then it does like it keeps on rolling and can climb up walls or whatever.
Yeah.
Like that kind of sort of discovery, and then you're like, oh, how can I use that for a puzzle now?
Yeah. A lot of it is all the tools have like a lot of uses that you have to discover as you play, which is cool. But I don't think it has something like Tunic does, where it does, like, there's a whole new mechanic that entirely changes all these areas you've explored before. I don't think there's something quite like that.
Chad, let's go on to what you've been playing.
I just took a headphone out. Oh my gosh. Okay, hold on. All right, so a little bit of that. I've been playing a little bit of that Stella Blade.
Ooh.
So I picked it up on Alex's console because I'm just forever keeping it.
He told me this today, by the way. And I'm like, great, more free games on my console
More
when I
games
get it
for
back.
me.
I was gonna say
Yeah.
more games that Alex is just gonna be able to play through. I haven't gotten too far. I think I've killed, like, if you go look in the menu where there's like all the bosses and like enemies types. I think there's like 2 like elite bosses and like 1 like actual boss that I've killed. So not too far in the game. But the mechanics are sweet. The different teleports and dodges and back in circle, forward in circle, parries. I think the blocks are more forgiving than a lot of Souls-like games, so combat's a little easier there. But man, it's very flashy and also very flashy in your face with the character that they shoved down your throat.
Quite.
Yeah. So I Caleb, you played this, right?
Yeah, I was gonna actually add on to this because I went and I went and got all the endings in New Game Plus.
Okay.
There's 3 endings total. So I mean, I played through New Game Plus twice.
Did you play through in English?
I did not. The English voice acting is terrible.
Okay. I've been playing through in English, and I'm like, every time, I forget what her name is, but it's there's a character that you meet
Lily?
along the way, and when she talks, every single time it's like nails on a chalkboard to me, and I'm like, this is awful.
My least favorite was Adam. I feel like he's just monotone and has like literally no.
Yeah.
There's nothing there.
Eve,
nothing
what have you
happening.
found?
Yeah, it is awful, man.
It's bad.
So no,
Did you change it to what, like Japanese or Korean or what?
Korean? Yeah,
Korean. Okay.
Yeah. I think the Japanese voices explicitly aren't allowed anywhere outside of Japan.
Oh.
Wow, weird.
Okay.
Something baked into the voice actor contracts, I think.
Interesting.
Yeah, it is weird. But I did want to say the New Game Plus in that game is really fun. First of all the bosses have new movesets, which is worth playing because, man, my second playthrough, I got to one boss and he took me 45 minutes. It was rough. And then I did the next boss and it took me like an hour and 15. Oof. Their new movesets are hard to deal with. Also,
Wow.
all of the cosmetic items you can collect throughout the game in the New Game Plus, you collect like palette swap versions of them, which I thought was a nice addition.
That's cool.
Yeah, because then you're not wasted exploring. You still have stuff to explore. It also adds like upgrades to your tree. It adds a lot. New Game Plus is actually pretty good.
I do want to say, I think this will help anybody who goes to play this game. I had the hardest time in the beginning trying to figure out how the compass worked. So the compass at the top of the screen, and I was like hitting every single button, and then I started hitting the pad in the middle and that's when the robot like does the flash thing, and that's when the compass actually stays on the screen. I even went into the menu and kept like I turned on like HUD always on because I was like, where is this compass? It's just you got to keep clicking the robot, and I didn't know that, so that helps a lot with navigation and attempting to get to the different locations and such.
I don't think I used the compass a single time.
Well, it's useful if
ever.
you don't want to keep swiping up to see where the map is trying to lead you. That's so annoying to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think it's a great game though. I like the
combat
combat a
is
lot.
so much fun.
Did you use the compass in God of War Ragnarok?
I don't remember.
Do you remember that? No.
No, I don't remember.
I specifically turned it off because I thought it wasn't very good and I wanted more immersion.
Did you just admit something in Ragnarok wasn't very good? Oh my goodness.
That is true.
Ouch.
Shit.
I came
Knocking at
back
points.
just for that.
No longer my game of the year, actually. Had a bad
It's
compass.
actually a bad game.
Wow.
One of those games one of these days.
Ben.
Another game that I have been playing is playing is a loose word for this game. Rust. A couple of my buddies have a group kind of playing Rust over the summer, so I went to try it. Also, the recoil changed, so you don't have to learn this weird pattern of like 2 bullets go left, 1 bullet goes right. Like, I don't know why games do that. CSGO and Valorant also do that. I don't know. Anyways, they joined a server that has like 700 players on it, and on wipe day, it was max capacity. So essentially, you would spawn on the beach, walk like 3 feet, and then you'd have an arrow in your head. Maybe spawn somewhere and there's nobody around you for a second. You'd gather some wood, gather some stone, and then you'd find a Tommy gun in your back. Playing was very loose, a very loose term there. I don't understand that game still to this day. I have 53 hours in the game, and I still like I don't know what I've done like of substance at all in this game ever. So yeah, that's it's just so confusing to me. Rust, what a game. So the game that I have been dumping hours and hours and hours into, and still am playing, is Final Fantasy VII Rebirth. I messaged Jake and Alex separately a while ago saying that I couldn't be on the podcast the last time, but I wanted them to know that it took me around 60 hours to get to chapter 12. This is with doing literally everything along the way. So every location I got to, I was 100%ing. After I got to around chapter 12, I stopped 100%ing stuff. And then I went and straight beat the game. So that took me 130 hours. So literally like around 60 plus hours of, just side content. And then I went and beat the game. Then I started doing the challenges. So there's brutal challenges and legendary challenges that Chadley gives you at the end. It's now around 170 hours that I've been playing this game. Which I have stated that I wasn't going to play through hard mode because that's one of the things that you have to platinum the game. That is the only achievement that I have left. So I'm like, do I just do it? Yeah, probably.
Wow.
The combat system in that game is just phenomenal. I wasn't sure about it in remake. Like I like it just was kind of confusing and convoluted in my opinion. The systems kind of were weird when you first get into that kind of game because you're trying to play it like a action game and like Stellar Blade or Elden Ring or you're just like trying to dodge and block and but you actually get to control 3 characters and you get to pause a bunch of times to like look at your skills, choose what you're about to do, assess the enemy, kind of see what they're weak to. And the systems really, really come alive in the brutal and legendary challenges at the end. Because you really have to know like almost exactly the strategy that you're going to use with like the proper materials that you're going to use, like the levels behind them. Essentially there's a boss in the game called Phoenix, which I mean Phoenix is a summon in pretty much every Final Fantasy. So does a lot of fire attacks. If you put an elemental materia on yourself and you mix it with fire, anytime he does a fire attack to you, you're just going to heal. So that it's like it's amazing. So any physical attacks, like they come at you and you're just like, ow, physical, that hurts. But then they hit you with fire, you're like, oh, I just got healed. And so what you do is you put a barrier on yourself from another skill that you have. And so now you don't take much physical damage. You get healed from fire damage. And now this really, really hard boss has now become trivial. And it's like systems like that where it's like you actually have to think a little bit and then like kind of put your build together is phenomenal. I texted Alex that I've been using Aerith, Tifa, and Cloud because you got the harem squad there. But like Yuffie's just so OP. And then I later found out Tifa is just so OP. Like there's a solo challenge that she has to go through. It's the first time that I ever got over a 300% stagger rating. So I think it starts like when you first stagger somebody, it's 100% stagger. And every time you do like damage to them with skills and stuff like that, it goes up little by little. Hers just went skyrocketing, got to the 300%, got that trophy out of the way. Like incredible stuff. I think all the side content in that game is like 1,000 times better than what Remake had. I still think that if you're gonna play, if anybody's gonna play through it on this cast, like 100% go through the main story and the green side quests and the story, like the exploration stuff, like do it at your own leisure. Like I don't think you should do it the way I did it, where I almost burnt myself out, like doing every single part before I moved on to the next section. I kind of lost track of the story sometimes because of how much exploration there was and side content and stuff like that. The side content, like the Fort Caldor and Queen's Gambit, like all of that's just like incredible. And that like this is 100%, like this 100% is gonna be my #1 game of the year, like without a doubt.
Cool. What if Silksong comes out though?
Well, I mean, if something like Elden Ring or God of War, I don't know, it's not Baldur's Gate comes out, then sure, but like I don't see that happening this year. So,
Alex, what have you been playing?
Yes. So I am.
Or are you distracted? Do you need me to skip in front of you?
No.
Okay,
I'm good. I am currently in Alpha City, so I've been playing alphas. None of which are under NDA, which is cool. So I've been playing Wild Assault, which is
Furry Battlefield.
People are calling it Furry Battlefield, is what they've been calling it.
It's literally, it is described on Steam as a furry hero battle or something like that. Gun game battlegrounds
Hero
or
shooter,
something,
something
hero
like that.
shooter, something like that.
Yeah, it's
So
sort
it's a
of
furry game.
so it's like Battlefield's conquest mode where you've got multiple points you're trying to capture and hold, and you got a point system that drops every time somebody dies, and you can spawn on your squad mates, and then there's like a larger battle going on. But there's no vehicles, and it's like a hero shooter. So your heroes are various animals that are anthropomorphized. So for instance, I like playing the medic who is a bunny. The bunny is pretty cool. Like the bunny's special ability is they can dodge quick.
Alex likes playing the
they're-
medic.
They're
Weird, right?
Yeah, I mean they all got abilities. So my bunny medic chick, she can throw this thing that like stickies places, and it creates a little healing AoE.
I bet it
Yep.
does sticky places.
And then her ultimate is like a healing aura, and will also res allies if you like run past them while they're downed. So that's mostly I've been playing, but there's like a bear, there's a tiger, there's, a wolf. The wolf is the sniper. He howls and he can see people through walls. Yeah, and also
Can
he
the
does
bull run
airstrikes.
through walls?
The bull does have a charge attack.
Yeah.
Yeah, the tiger's ultimate ability is he gets his claws out and goes melee. But mostly it's just surprising how well everything plays, because you would expect it to be kind of like a joke game, but it's actually like extremely competent and fun. Yeah, I just been having a good time with that. The other game I've been having a really good time with is Marvel Rivals, which is basically Marvel's answer to Overwatch. It's another hero shooter, but like very Overwatch-esque hero shooter, like capture the point, sort of like ferry the cart through the map, like that type of.
You gotta be careful. I know they don't like when you say bad stuff about this game. And comparing it to Overwatch sounds pretty negative.
So they had a little fiasco with some of the language. They had contracts to give out to certain content creators to get keys, and in the contracts it basically disallowed you from talking negatively in any way about the game.
Wow.
So that was a bit
Not how that
controversial.
works, guys.
They walked it back and said it was like a miscommunication at some point. I don't know how that's like really like a miscommunication. I could see something happening where it's like they just gave it to the legal team, like, hey, make us a thing, and then the legal team put it in there and like said that was good. And like the other higher ups on the video game didn't really understand that was what it said. I don't know. Benefit of the doubt. It's kind of
You read the non-disparagement clause. I get it. No, I get it. Yeah, it was not their fault.
kind of gross,
We,
but at the same time they've walked it back. So
We really in 2024 giving gaming companies benefits of the doubt.
yeah, I guess I shouldn't really. I mean,
Time to stop that.
Watch out, they'll do layoffs.
Yeah, they'll fire you.
We'll
find
find
out.
but that was only specifically for content creators that were getting handed specific keys. If you were a part of the general masses that just got a key through the random draws for signups, that is not something you had to sign. And also, there's no NDA, so you could say anything you want about it, which is what I'm going to do right now. It's a pretty good game, actually, though. It plays pretty well. So it's alpha. I don't know what that means, because I feel like they're just going to come out next month and be like, it's out. But it seems pretty competent for being quote-unquote
Fortnite's still in
alpha.
beta.
Is it really?
Yeah.
That is
They don't
so
release
dumb.
it specifically to get around Sony and Xbox and like how they do updates so they could push them out faster. Because EA games are able to bypass the like 2-week whatever like system of like approval.
Yeah. I'll say that in terms of like polish, they could use a bit of polish. It is not like as smooth an experience as something like Overwatch. Like, I mean, Blizzard in its heyday is kind of known for that, which is where a lot of Overwatch's polish comes from. But just like general game feel and like movement around a map and stuff like that. Like specifically, you'll just come across a spot in the map where it's like, yeah, I could totally jump on that ledge, and then like you just barely don't make it onto the ledge. And that happens like one too many times that I'm like, why is the map designed like this? Like, just don't. Why would you do that? Or like Spider-Man's in the game and he can swing around, but there's like you swing so fast through the maps that you just like run into geometry a lot. It's probably a skill issue, but maybe just smooth it out a little bit, give him a little bit of a buffer or something. Like, don't make him like hang on, like catch on this ledge or something like that because you bumped into it slightly too much. Just slightly little game feel things like that. But for the most part, I think it's really competent. There's a big hero pool for being at the very start of its life. There's only 3 maps right now. I don't know if that's like a alpha limitation or if they're literally only gonna have 3 maps. If so, that's not great. There's a lot of abilities on heroes that I'm like, oh yeah, that's that ability from that hero in Overwatch. But then there's some that are just like really unique and cool. Like Penny Parker's in this game, who's like the girl that gets in the mech spider. And one of her abilities is she puts a web somewhere, like you can aim it like against a wall or something, and it attaches to her. And then it can be like a tether that can like pull you back. It like gets tension if you walk away from it, and then it snaps back and it can pull you. So you can use it to like tether you back with your team, run into the other team and try to do some damage or whatever, and then get snapped back to it.
That's cool.
So you found the one ability that was like Lifeweaver.
It's like we were if it's yourself though. I don't know.
Yeah.
Is it like is Translocator, old Translocator, a fair comparison? Sounds a little similar.
Yeah, I guess old Translocator is like a way more powerful version of it, I guess. You can also use it to like bounce and stuff. So like you attach it to a ceiling and you like bounce up and down.
That's
Like
cool.
bouncing.
It looks like there's unique character synergies.
Yes,
Like this
so
shows Rocket landing on Groot's shoulders.
that's one of the cool features that's actually new in this game is team up abilities. So you have things like Rocket on Groot's shoulder. That's like a team up ability. And Rocket will take less damage if he's on Groot's shoulder. So he gets like a damage reduction for that. There's like Loki and Hela. Their team up ability is Hela's a DPS and Loki's a support. Or sorry, they're called strategists in this game and duelist for DPS. If Hela gets a kill shortly after Loki dies, he just resurrects.
Oh.
Like where he died. It's pretty
Interesting.
sick.
Actually, that's a fun risk reward mechanic in general.
Man, wasn't Overwatch 2 supposed to do some sort of like
Aaron, no. Overwatch 2 is a myth.
There's
It's never
also
coming out.
characters in this game from the Marvel Universe that I've never heard of, like Luna Snow. Don't know who that is. Namor, he's like Marvel Aquaman, I guess. He's got a trident and makes like squid turrets and shoots a whale at people for his ultimate. But like Luna Snow and Namor have a team up ability where Luna Snow will empower his abilities with ice because she's ice based. So that's, I mean, it's just like a cool bunch of little things like that. And it encourages certain team comps, which is cool. I think it could be a neat new way to tweak meta in the game, because like if you tweak, like give somebody a team up ability with somebody else or tweak a team up ability to make it stronger or something like that, that would encourage not just one person to be picked, but multiple characters.
And it kind of sounds like most of the team abilities are cross role essentially, which I think is important for that, because you probably wouldn't want to team up its 2 DPSs.
Sure.
Yeah.
Something like that might be too powerful and too difficult to balance, probably.
I think they are all across role, I think. If
That's
I'm not
good.
mistaken.
Man, Luna Snow's origin story is that she's a K-pop idol.
Yeah. Her ultimate is she dances.
That's cool.
And you lose the ability to shoot anymore, but you have a big AoE around you that is basically the Zenyatta ult.
Mhm.
It just heals or damages, depending on. You can toggle it back and forth like Lucio.
Oh.
That's cool. Huh. This game seems
But-
very competent for an alpha,
Right?
like you said.
It's funny because people were really complaining about balance as like the main, like obviously it's alpha, it has bad balance to begin with, but I feel like over the last few days people have started to understand more about how the characters play, and it's not much of an issue anymore. Like Hella has basically a hit scan like 2-shot headshot,
Mm.
and it's like wicked strong, and everybody was like, man, Hella is the most OP DPS in the game. Like they need to tune her back. And I've seen her played less and less. Like first couple days, every team Hella. And as time has gone on, she's been playing less and less because people have realized like, oh, you just have to counter Hella. Like you have to jump on her, freaking kill her butt, because she has like not a lot of options to deal with that. So you get some dive characters in there, start jumping on her and stop letting her
So
snipe from the
essentially,
back.
Widow.
Mhm.
Yeah, sort of. Yeah, essentially. But it's I am quite happy with how it is right now. We'll
Yeah, is
see how well it does when it comes out.
Is it going to be free to play when it comes out? Have they even said?
I have no idea. I just
Okay.
assumed it would be free to play. I don't.
Yeah,
in
that's
today's
see it.
day and age, like if it's
I don't
not
see
free to
it
play, it's gonna
succeeding.
flop.
Yeah,
Oh,
I
you
guess
know
that's
what-
a good point. But
What else
you
is
never
kind
know.
of cool in this game, which is completely ancillary to everything else, but all the characters have like full chapter-based stories that you can go read about their lore that you can unlock as you progress down like progression trees and stuff. You
That's
just like
cool.
unlock more lore about them and like read this story that is unfolding. There's a whole story that's unfolding with like there's like a battle pass in the game, but it's not one you purchase. It's just there and it progresses as you play, and it has story beats along it that Galacta I think is Galactus's daughter, and she seems good, not evil.
Who's... You know what? Never mind. I don't want to know.
But she is like trying to put the multiverse back together or whatever, and like that's where all these characters are coming from. Also, there's characters from like X-Men and stuff in this game, like Storm and Magneto. So it's like from all parts of Marvel. So I think it's doing some cool stuff.
I'm
It
excited
will be
try.
free to play.
Nice.
It will be. Oh, nice.
Glad that there's a section for lore, because otherwise, how would we ever discover anything about Spider-Man or Doctor
Yeah,
Strange?
True. And Spider-Man kind of plays like Genji on crack.
Hmm.
That sounds
so I'm not going to
terrible.
be able to play
Wow.
him at all.
He's melee primarily is the thing, but he can get in and out of so many situations so fast. Like he has multiple charges on his swing and they come up so quickly. Like you can pretty much always swing, and your swing takes you like so fast across the map. It is insane how fast it'll take you places. But he's a cool character. He's so hard to play though.
I will go next. I've just been playing a couple things. I wrapped up the Miasma Chronicles. I got so good with my character builds that I could basically take any combat entirely in stealth, as long as
Wow.
I position myself well and paced attacks at the right amount of time, spacing between. But at the end of the game, they were like, nah, you're not allowed to do that. So final fight, they like really force you to play the game without all of the benefit of having stealth, which was incredibly difficult because I've been playing the other way the whole time. So I had to completely change my approach. It was very difficult combat. And the very last thing that happens is one of the sort of the big bad. He jumps down and he has this overshield that you have to sort of chip down until you can get to their health bar. Health pool is like 100 to 200. The overshield was like 1,000.
Ooh.
So it's a lot. Conveniently, I happen to have two abilities that just bypass shield entirely, and he had a really low health. So before he even got to act, I killed him.
Wow.
That's crazy.
Wow.
Yeah. So anyway, cool game. I really like the story writing or the storytelling in it, and I think it's just again, it kind of floats in that same realm as Mutant Year Zero for the gameplay style, and you guys know I love that game, so love this game. The other thing I played was Indica, which is the opposite of Sativa. This is a very short, 4-ish hour narrative. Man, I don't even know how to describe this game. This is one of the weirdest games you will ever play. It is a walking simulator with puzzles and an incredible story that they tell over the course of 4 hours.
How did you get involved in this game?
That's what
I
I
opened
asked.
the Steam page, and the initial trailer starts out so bizarre.
This whole game is bizarre, dude. Everything about this game is bizarre. You're playing as Indica, who is a nun in a monastery in Russia, and she is in this situation where the devil is talking directly to her in her head. She can hear the voice of the devil all the time. And the other nuns that she's interacting with clearly have a problem with her because she's not being nun enough.
She's not being
Nun-like
nunny,
enough.
huh?
Yeah, she's not nunning hard enough. And I don't know how to describe this. It's so weird.
I feel like you leave it there and then just let everybody explore.
It is. I don't think it's worth $25 for what it's worth. This is a 4-hour game. It is for people who don't like games with limited mechanics that are really just trying to tell a story. This is going to feel like such a slog because it is a lot of just pure storytelling and absolutely bizarro game mechanics and some puzzles. And then there's also weird stuff going on in the game. It's very strange.
Very
Alex,
weird.
you want this game?
Yeah.
Because Aaron told us about it.
I found it because I love Frostpunk, and I've been looking at Frostpunk 2 because it's coming out this year, and I was also looking at the publisher for that game, which I think is like Team 16 or something. Anyway, I was on their page because I was also looking at the Thaumaturge, and they have 2 other games that I'm looking at playing, one of which was Indica, and the other which is Altered. There's another game about a guy with multiple personalities. But anyway, check this game out.
11-bit Studios.
11-bit, thank you. 11-bit Studios. It is worth trying. If you do not like this game within the first 10 minutes, just put it down. There's no reason to play it. If you like the storytelling in 10 minutes, you will like this game. It will be a freaking trip. I bet if you were on acid when you were playing this game, it is a wild freaking ride. Anyway,
Hey,
that's Indica.
I have to try it out with some acid.
Yes.
Gotta find some acid first.
Yes. Ben.
Me. Well, mostly what I've been playing is a bunch of Civ 6, which I have played with a couple other people here. Most recently, I played a game with Jake and Alex. It was entertaining, mostly because I don't think Alex knew what was going on. I barely knew what was going on, and Jake only kind of knew what was going on. So it was exciting.
Did anybody who was playing know what was going on?
AI.
Owen was there, and he,
The
I
frickin'
think,
barbarians
knew what was
did.
Owen, I think, knew what was going on.
Yeah. The unofficial drinking game is now whenever someone complains about barbarians, you do a shot.
Yeah, the barbarians are terrible.
Every other turn, it was like, God, there's barbarians at my camp. God, more barbarians. These barbarians.
It's a good drinking game if you don't plan on winning the game of Civ.
So how does it... Oh, sorry, go ahead, Alex.
I was gonna say I didn't realize until you explained later that the barbarians just spawn if nobody's looking at that area of the map.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so they don't just spawn out of the ether, but they have camps that will spawn them, and the camps can appear in areas where nobody's looking.
That's
Just like where nobody
vexing.
has their camera pointed?
No,
like
no,
nobody
it's
has
like-
There's a
units.
fog of war.
Your
range.
units have vision of a
Okay,
certain number
yeah.
of tiles around them, and if none of your units have vision of an area, then a camp can spawn there.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mhm.
Sorry, Jake, you were asking me, I assume, how it compared to Civ 5?
You got it. Obviously, we didn't get super far in our game, but maybe probably not quite 100 turns, but probably close.
Yeah, so it's a little early for me to compare, but I think trying to think. It's a little more complex, which isn't a bad thing. I like it. I think I'm just not used to it yet.
Sure.
And I'm enjoying the stuff the expansions add, like all the like the volcanoes and flooding and things like that. That's very interesting, and the whole global warming's built into it now. Although we didn't get far enough for that to affect anything. I think at this point, after playing that a bit more over the last week or two, I've reached a point where I'm like, I still like Civ 5 better, but I can acknowledge the fact I like it better because I'm more used to it, not necessarily because it is a better game. I think Civ 6 took a lot of the stuff in Civ 5 and did improve it very well. My biggest complaint so far is that when you start the game, they have a list of all of the countries you can play, and it shows you every country in the game, whether or not you have access to that country. It's not until you select the country to play it that it pops up and goes, hey, you can't play this, you don't own it. And I was like, oh, okay, well, there's a country I really want to play. Let me look, is there like a DLC I'm missing? And I looked into it and I realized, oh, there's not a DLC I'm missing. They have a subscription service that you can pay monthly for access to a bunch of the countries. And I went, oh, fuck you, Civ. So that kind of annoyed me. Because I was looking into because I was doing some time researching what are the best countries, which ones have the coolest abilities or bonuses and things like that. And almost all of the top tier ones are under that subscription service.
Surprise, surprise.
And it's like, that's frustrating. But but assuming that I'm playing a game where nobody has the subscription service, which none of us did, it's perfectly even. It just means that I'm going to go through and basically have to try 6 times to pick who I want to play before I find one that I do actually own. But in terms of actual gameplay, I was a big fan. It's very good. Graphics are much better. Gameplay feels good. I mean, I liked it a lot.
Nice.
Caleb?
I played a little bit of COD Black Ops. Sorry.
Oh. The first one?
Yeah. I own it on Xbox One. And Liz is a big fan of COD games. So every once
is a good one,
not online, just local co-op. So every once in a while I'll plug it back in and fire it up and we'll just sit there playing against a bunch of bots for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Fun.
Nice. I've been playing, I think we kind of already talked about Stellar Blade, but I went and platinumed that because New Game Plus was really fun. So I just enjoyed playing it. And then I've been playing a game called Aces and Adventures, which is a surprise deck building RPG.
What?
Yeah. It's all played via decks of cards where even the story is told through decks of cards. So each card will be a different scene that is fully narrated and just has some art on the card. And it has, I've played 6 hours. I've beaten 1 full campaign. There are 13 in the game. So it has a lot of content. And it has 5 different classes you can pick from and level up as you go through the different campaigns. And each campaign is told in individual chapters. I think the first campaign was 15 chapters, maybe 20 chapters. Quite a few. And your character kind of starts over from base level at the beginning of every chapter. So you can kind of swap which class you're playing as you go, or just focus on one and level it up as much as you want. But it's pretty good. The combat is played out with poker hands. So you do damage based on how many cards you use for your hand, and kind of defend against the enemies when they use various hands. It's pretty cool.
What's the deal with poker-based games this year?
Yeah. It's not very roguelike-y. I mean, you start over every chapter, but I don't know. It doesn't have a lot of roguelike mechanics, I guess. So, not terribly Balatro-y, I think. It's pretty good.
Primary mechanic.
You deal damage with poker hands. That's the only only thing that carries
just
over.
the main way you interact with the game is the same. But other than that,
the thing is, all the deck building doesn't really impact the poker hands that much. A lot of it's like, oh, my black card's doing extra damage now, so it's like kind of interacts with it, but not hugely.
Sounds
Not as
kinda
much as
like Balatro.
Balatro.
I don't know. Sounds a little similar. I don't know.
You only draw basically ever a hand of 5 cards. So you don't. It's not like you are picking and choosing for next round or anything.
Jake?
Yeah, so we already talked about most of the games I played. The only thing we haven't talked about separately, I started up Like a Dragon Infinite Wealth.
It's the Hawaii one, right?
It's the Hawaii one, yes. Much to my surprise, it takes a long time before we actually go to Hawaii. There's a long part that's just in Japan, and I was like, man, really not letting me go to Hawaii yet?
Is it like almost
Is it
all
all
cutscenes too? Yeah.
Oh my god, dude. I'm ready. I'm like, okay, I know it's gonna be mostly
Yakuza game,
cutscenes,
you
that's
know.
fine. But like, man, it's brutal. There's a lot of cutscene. It's surprising how much cutscene there is. I think I'm finally to a point where it feels like I'm past like a lot of the introduction cutscenes. Cause like there's a lot of cutscenes, like it establishes the characters and what they're up to in Japan, and something happens, and you go and you get to do some gameplay, and then we have to basically start all over because then you go to Hawaii, and so we have to reintroduce a bunch of shit, and it's all cutscene, and it takes so long.
Could you just skipped the whole Japan bit?
Probably not. I don't know. It's hard to tell with a Yakuza game. Excuse me, with a Like a Dragon game. It can be hard to tell, like, what's going to be important and what is not.
Mm-hmm.
Like, there's a character early on who, like, I meet him, I'm like 90% sure he's, like, the primary antagonist of the game. Like, just the way he acts and the things he says, I'm like, I feel like you're, like, the secret villain.
Mm-hmm.
But obviously, I don't know yet. I could be wrong. So ask me again in, like, 100 hours and I'll let you know if I'm right.
It looks like to me like there's about 22 hours of cutscenes in this game.
I am surprised it's that low, but yeah. So other than the cutscenes are fine. The voice acting is very good, but the gameplay is really, really good. Actually, I'm really enjoying it. I feel like it really improves on a lot of stuff that Like a Dragon kind of put out there. So the Yakuza series is sort of infamous for you can grab stuff on the side of the street and just hit people with it, like use it as a weapon. The most famous example is you can just grab bikes off the side of the street and use it to fight people. And it's really funny. And they had that in Like a Dragon, but you couldn't really move your characters around, so you were kind of at the whim of, like, where they decided to stand and where the enemy happens to move to. I guess for anyone who doesn't realize this either, the last one and this one are turn-based JRPGs, whereas the old Yakuza games were like 3D brawlers.
Mm-hmm.
And so what they added for Like the Dragon Infinite Wealth is when it's your character's turn, you have like a small circle around them, and you can move your character around within that circle, and it helps you like line up attacks that are going to knock enemies into other enemies. Or if you want to pick up a bicycle, you can maneuver yourself closer to it so you'll pick it up on your way over to them. Or even just like if you have an AoE move, it actually shows you where the AoE is going to hit, whereas in the last game it was just kind of like, this is an AoE move. Maybe it'll hit people near them, and it was always just sort of like a guessing game of like, how big is the AoE? It's like, they wouldn't tell you. So kind of just quality of life stuff like that has been so welcome. Yeah. I haven't gotten into too much of, like, the side content stuff. The only sort of mini-game side quest I have found so far is that there is what you call it, like an online dating mini-game where you, like, build a profile.
Of course.
And then you have to match with someone and give them answers they want to hear. And if they ask you something about your profile, you have to remember the lies you made up in your profile and select an answer to tell them.
Oh my gosh.
Sounds fun.
And then after you select an answer, you have to do, like, it's almost like a QTE, but it gives you, like, a string of, like, button combinations that you have to push really quick, so you enter them before they get bored of the conversation, and if you miss any inputs, you have typos in your response. It's stupid, but it is fun. It's just kind of goofy fun.
They're kind of known for those games, right? Those mini games.
Yes, they are. Yeah, I haven't gotten to. I've been given to understand that there is a Animal Crossing-esque minigame in here. I've not gotten far enough for that yet. But I'm very much looking forward to that. But yeah, it's a really good game. And if anyone wants to play, anyone on this podcast wants to play the last game, we have several copies of it in the keys page.
Nice.
Just throwing that out there.
It's on my list.
Before we wrap up the podcast, I think we'd move some stuff towards the bottom.
Mm-hmm.
Uh-huh.
All right, everybody, buckle up for Get Smart star actor Agent 23 Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson controversy.
Oh.
Yeah. Which I find this fascinating and hilarious. So I watched a video the other day of all the things that he's been doing over the years that have made him, quote, the fakest Hollywood actor, unquote. So the number one thing that comes to mind from people is he went to In-N-Out the other day and he posted on Instagram that it was his first time. People went through his Instagram and they found that first time post back in 2023 as well.
Oh my god.
And another first time post back in 2017.
Oh.
What a weird
He's
lie.
just very forgetful.
He used to be a
So,
wrestler.
in order to cover that stuff up, he said that he did forget about the 2023 one, and back in 2017, he did not actually eat In-N-Out. He only picked it up for a buddy of his.
Mm.
That seems like a weird thing to get mad at him about.
Okay,
How dare you?
let's
Like-
let's continue down the rabbit hole.
Oh no, there's more.
He in a video, either TikTok, Instagram, whatever post, was asked the question of how many calories does he eat in a day, and he responded 6,000 to 8,000 calories a day. Which,
What?
for some reason, people needed to pick that apart, and they say that he would be 100 pounds heavier, even with all the workouts he does, because they picked apart his workout routine, what he eats, etc., and found that there's no way he could be eating 6,000, 8,000 calories and be working out and not be like a truck.
I mean, 3,500 calories is 1 pound. So he eats, at a minimum, 2 pounds of food a day.
Yeah. So the biggest nail in the coffin. So there's also the Black Adam controversy of like the financial situation, which I don't know enough to speak on, but I know that people were upset because he said something and it didn't match up with the actual finance or whatever happened there. So that was another thing that people were upset about. There's another thing that he did with Oprah, with Maui, that people are mad about. I don't, once again, not knowledgeable enough. That's something that people could look into. But coming to WrestleMania, I don't know. You seem like you know some of this with that. But so there is a championship fight that's coming up, or has come up, or has passed, or something, with Roman Reigns, which is the 3-time in a row year champion, and Cody Rhodes, which is he was said to be the next title champion, the person who is about to fight Roman Reigns. So Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns were supposed to face off against each other. There was a ton of hype built up, a lot of promotion on this, and then suddenly Cody Rhodes was like, "Hey, I don't want to fight you, Roman," and he substituted out for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. And this was 10 days after The Rock had become a board member of the WWE.
That's
So, yeah. That was a letdown for a lot of fans. They did not enjoy what happened there. I think at the end of the day, Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson backed out, and Cody Rhodes and Roman Reigns actually did have their fight. Not sure. Maybe not. That's not actually what happened. But I just found all of this to just be like, what? Who has the time? I guess I do, to go through this and just pick apart. Like, why? Why does it matter? Like, what? It's funny stuff. Funny stuff. I think there's worse things going on out there right now that we could just leave The Rock alone.
I'm not gonna say he's not sort of fake, but I think saying he's the fakest man in Hollywood seems like a bit of
You know,
I think we
Yeah.
can find some people lying
I
a
think
bit
you're-
more in Hollywood.
I think he's the fakest man on the face of the earth.
You think he's just not even
Whoa.
real?
Wow.
He said
Why-
first time in and out 3 separate times?
Yeah,
No way.
3 times.
No way.
You
Get
know,
him
you know
outta
what this
here.
really means? His whole life is acting. He
Oh my god, he's so
he's maybe
committed.
the
He's an
best
ad
actor of our
machine.
time.
The In and Out one I think is really funny because when he posted about it being his first time, the post was all like, I was so out of my element. I didn't know the lingo. I didn't know where to go, who to talk to. I didn't understand anything. I'm like, dude, it's purchasing fast food. What are you talking about? It's not hard. What do you?
It's a struggle for
People,
people, Alex.
People pulled up his Instagram and they were like, look at this. Look at how many posts on this page are just advertisements. And they like highlight like pretty much every single one except for like 3. And I'm like, bro, he's a brand. Like, yeah. He's gonna advertise. Like, what?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I feel like there was a heyday where he was like, it was like really cool that he was in a movie, and then he got too big at some point, and now it's like, oh, he's just like a product now, you know?
Hmm.
Like back when he was in Fast and
The
Furious, that
Rundown?
was sick.
Oh yeah, was it?
Mhm.
Fast and Furious was when it was sick.
Yeah,
That seems a little bit
Fast
biased.
5.
Which Fast and Furious movie did it cross the line then?
No. I think he was big in that movie where he's wearing a tank top and he's in a jungle. That one.
Yes, I love that one.
Moana? You talking about Moana?
I
Yep.
think the CG in Scorpion King was kind of phenomenal.
Oh my
Oh,
gosh.
man.
I forgot
was
he was in
iconic.
that.
That was excellent.
Insane.
His high point's probably Skyscraper.
Get out of here.
It could be Skyscraper or San Andreas.
Man, I
Gotta
really
be a
like San Andreas.
rundown, man.
Of course, you really like San Andreas. Get out of here.
Yeah,
Probably Baywatch.
Oh man, good
I
movie.
forgot about Baywatch.
Good movie. But I'm a big Zac Efron fan, so
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sorry, pre-Jaw, Zac Efron.
Right, you can't hate on the
You don't-
jaw.
You don't like post Jaws?
Man, that jawline is just like it's wider than the top of his head is. It just
What?
he's
Did
like
you
a
get work
trapezoid now.
done?
What did the jaw?
Yeah,
Yeah.
there's this thing in Hollywood where you like essentially break your jaw and then they fix it and it widens it and like creates this like very
Well,
I don't know what
I-
it's called.
I
Was
think
it pre or
his
post
was
Greatest
actually
Showman?
done because he accidentally broke his jaw.
Oh, he did. Okay.
Yeah,
He
I
got-
think he
he
had
got
a
injured
fall
at
and
some
it
point.
actually it did injure him. Other people like Ryan Gosling, it's like that's where it's being weird.
That's all Hollywood, man. They're just weird. It's strange. Anyway, all right. Well, we'll be back in 2 weeks. Ben will have finished Hollow Knight, and he can give us his review at that point. We are very excited. Ben, don't hold your finger up like I might not be done. This was agreed upon that you would finish Hollow Knight and that you would start your solo podcast. Are you not? You're not
I
prepared,
don't know if we agreed upon that.
guys. I think Ben's off the cast. I think Ben's off the cast.
You know
let's
what?
just put it to a vote on whether or not he has to do it.
All in favor, say aye.
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 That's
But
tough,
I need Aaron
buddy.
on as a guest caster.
Yep.
All
Agreed.
right, we'll be back
Even
in
if
2
he
weeks.
did leave me for a less good alcohol.
I did a better alcohol. Anyway,
Oh, boy.
we'll be back in 2 weeks. We'll catch you next time. See ya.